These are the 5 elevated offers on credit cards you may want to consider if you are thinking about opening up a new card in February of 2026, as what I like to call them, the Feb 5. I'm going to break down each of them, go over who may be right for, and just because I'm nice, I'm going to throw in some honorable mentions at the end as well. And by the way, if you have not seen me before, my name is Kong. I've been swimming on the deep end of the points and miles pool since 2017. I just want to share the nuggets of wisdom I've learned along the way with you. So if that sounds interesting, please feel free to subscribe and like. It is a big deal for a small channel like myself. There are timestamps below because there's a lot of information to cover. Plus, I made my first ever digital product. It is a free guide that will hopefully complement the stuff in the video that you can use as a reference in the future with comparison tables, breakdowns, things like that. There's a link below so you can take a look at it. And I would love to hear feedback. Again, please be gentle. It is my first guide ever that I've made, but I do think there's a lot of good information, so hopefully you find it useful. Let's get into the first of the card, not really in any particular order. I'm going to look at my notes below so I keep the information accurate. And the first one is the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless. Currently, it has an offer of 5 free night certificates after $3,000 spend, plus a new feature that is a $100 airline credit that we have not seen before. So let's take a look at what makes this offer special. Typically, the spend requirement is $5,000 for the free nights. That has come up before. Now it's only $3,000, so much easier to hit. The certificates are capped at properties that cost up to 50,000 points. However, you can top it up with an additional 15 per night, so up to a max of 65,000 points per night if you have the extra Marriott points to do the topping up. As for how the airline credit works, it's actually pretty simple. It's a biannual credit. You're going to get $50 back for every $250 that you spend directly with an airline. So if you're a frequent flyer, it's probably not that hard to spend $250 in 6 months and get an automatic $50 statement credit back. And the $100 basically is going to cover that $95 annual fee. So again, I think it's a great time to jump in on this deal. Now, some caveats to be aware of. As always, these certificates are only good for 12 months from the day that you earn them. So you do need to have a pretty solid idea of some Marriott properties that you're going to stay at. Make sure you've checked out availability, things like that. Make sure it qualifies for the 50,000 points cap. Don't just apply and try to figure it out later. You need to have a plan before you apply for this card. So who's this card right for? Marriott loyalists, people who have trips pre-planned in advance, you know where you're going. I would say it can be worth up to $1,500 or even $2,000 depending on where you're booking and how much value you get out of it. Of course, it is subject to rules because it's a chase card like 524, and there's also a 24-month Marriott rule that you can look up. The offer is supposed to expire March 11th, so you do have some time to think about it. The second card we're going to talk about is a popular one, but it does have an elevated offer, making it even a better time to jump into it if you have not held it before or you haven't held it in about 4 years. And that is the Capital One Venture card, the regular Venture, not the Venture X, and not the Venture One, which is the entry-level one. While the standard offer is just 75,000 miles, this is that plus a $250 travel credit that you can redeem in the Capital One travel portal, all for just $4,000 spend in the first 3 months. Now, this is pretty much tied for the highest offer that we've seen on the Venture. It has come up a few times in the past, so I wouldn't stress too much about it. It's not one of those things like the Chase 100K offer that comes around every 4 or 5 years. I remember seeing this, I think, even last year. As for the $250 credit, remember, it is through the Capital One portal, so you are limited in that regard. But in the portal itself, you can do flights, hotels, rental cars, things like that. So it's pretty broad, and it won't expire for a full year. And you don't have to use it all at once in the same trip. You can sparse it out. If it takes you multiple trips to use up the $250, that is perfectly fine. Now, just other reminders about the card. Venture is 2x back flat on everything, so it does give peace of mind. You don't have to think about what you're getting in this category or that category. Capital One also has over 20 transfer partners, so that is a lot of value for the points. And remember, with the minimum spend, you actually earn a little over 80,000 points by the time you're done. Now, who's this card for? I think really it is for most people. I used to think that the Chase Sapphire Preferred was the only right option for people who are dipping their toes into the travel game. However, when it comes to an offer like this where Capital One Venture is a little bit higher, I think there's an argument to be made for going for this one. I also think it may make more sense nowadays for people to actually start in this one because Capital One is more sensitive than Chase. So if you want to get both of those, it makes more sense to go Venture first, then CSP versus the other way around, because if you got CSP first and then try to get the Venture 3 months down the line, Capital One may decline you for getting too many cards too quickly. And a final reminder about Venture, there is a 48-month rule. So if the last time you got the Venture bonus was under 4 years, you will not be eligible for it. And unfortunately, because of the family rule, if you've gotten the Venture X bonus, period, I don't think you'll be able to get this one at all. No current known expiration date, but it does say limited offer, so that could be a few more weeks or even 1 to 2 more months at most. Card number 3 is the World of Hyatt card from Chase on the personal side. This one is a little bit more tricky to use, I think, even than the Marriott Bonvoy one. I'll explain why. It is a solid offer, though. It is for a total of 5 free night certificates that are limited to Category 4. And to actually earn that, you're going to need to spend $15,000 in the span of the first 6 months to get all 5 of them. It's broken down like this. If you spend $5,000 in the first 3 months, you get the first 3, but in order to get the remaining 2, you need to spend up to 15. But the good news is the superpower of the card outside of the bonus, when you spend $15,000 in an anniversary year, you get another free night certificate. So actually by the end of this, you will have 6 free night certificates to use at the Category 4 and under Hyatt hotels. That's huge, right? If you have a certain location in mind, that's almost a week for free thanks to one credit card. Of course, just to touch on the category limitation, it is from categories 1 through 4. There's an easy way to look that up on the Hyatt site. You can filter by categories, you can filter by locations around the world and see which hotels are eligible. The last time I looked at this, I think there's over 1,000 hotels that qualify for this. So while you are limited in a sense, it's not super limiting. Category 4s are typically 15,000 points per night. They can go up to 18 during peak season. So potentially you're talking about up to 90,000 Hyatt points worth of value if you redeem it at specific hotels. Now, who is this for? Similar to the ones who are Marriott loyalists, if you're a Hyatt loyalist, if you're a value shopper of sorts, I think it makes sense because the category 1 through 4 hotels are going to be more of the value or midline hotels at most. You're not going to get a Park Hyatt in the Maldives, for example. I'd also give pause if you were someone who is just starting out and you haven't gotten the more flexible points cards like the Amex Gold, Chase Sapphire Preferred, Venture, or Citi Premier. With those cards, you're talking about more flexible points and you're not limited to using them. And again, just like the Boundless one, the certificates will expire in 12 months from the time that you earn it. So you need to have a plan in mind in terms of when you're taking your trip and where you're going to redeem these certificates. Final reminder, this is a Chase card, so 524 is in effect as it always is for literally every Chase card. And this offer is supposed to end February 26th, so you do have to think pretty quickly if you want to grab this one. Card number 4 is another Chase hotel one, and that is the Chase IHG Premier card. This one is not certificates, though. It is a whopping 175,000 IHG points after $5,000 spend. That is about 35,000 more than the standard offer of just 140K. Now, this may end up working for a lot of people who are fans of the IHG hotel collection because you have something called a 4th free nights benefit. When you book 4 consecutive nights, you only end up paying for 3, so that's kind of an automatic 25% savings. This can scale every 4 nights, so if you end up booking 8 nights, you only have to pay for 6. IHG is a pretty broad hotel category with a wide footprint around the world, so that's definitely a plus. In addition to that, you will get an anniversary night that could be worth up to 40,000 points, so more perks to keep the card long term if you're a fan of IHG hotels. Final caveats, there is a $99 annual fee that is not waived. It is subject to the IHG 24-month rule and subject to Chase's 524 rule. Card number 5 is really more of the entire family of cards from American Express and Delta. All of them have elevated offers right now. The elevated offers by themselves aren't necessarily new. I think I see them usually pop up 2 or 3 times a year. However, if you're a big Delta loyalist, now would be a good time as any to grab one of these cards if you have not had them before. Of course, there's 6 different cards, so I'm not going to run over the points totals for all of them, but there's 3 on the business side, 3 on the personal side. It's going to be gold, platinum, and reserve in that order. Now, while the points are the highest on these cards, or at least matching the highest we've seen before, there is a little bit higher than usual spending requirement, so please definitely keep that in mind, but it shouldn't be anything super out of the ordinary. All right, as for which cards to get, I typically advise people get either the gold or the reserve. I think the platinum in the middle is kind of in a no man's land in terms of its benefits. The gold is great because there's no annual fee in the first year. You get a free check bag. You get to board the plane a little bit earlier before most other people, and you get a 15% discount on your Sky Miles booking. And as a note, the Platinum doesn't have lounge access. People confuse that a lot. The main line Amex card, the Platinum travel card, that gives you lounge access. Delta Platinum does not. You need to actually pay a high annual fee for the Delta Reserve, or the Purple card as some people call it, to have Delta lounge access. All right, as for things to watch out for, they are set to expire, all of these deals, on April 1st. There is a family rule you need to be aware of if you're looking at the personal Delta cards. Like a lot of other family rules, you have to go in a certain order. So for the personal ones, you must go gold, then platinum, then reserve. If you do them out of order, you'll be locked out of the bonus for the lower card. So if you start with the reserve, unfortunately, you will disqualify yourself from ever getting the gold or the platinum bonus in the future. This does not apply for the business side of it. And yes, technically there are lifetime limits, at least on these links, but from the past, I've seen a lot of no lifetime links on Delta cards that pop up occasionally. Just keep an eye on your favorite blog, and sometimes maybe they'll post those links for you. Alrighty, let's run through some honorable mentions. There are a few other cards that you may want to look at for really specific niche people. The first one is the United Explorer. It is what is called an in-flight offer. So typically when you're flying it, you'll get a link to it. But of course, people save those links and share them on blogs. So this is what it is. You can get up to 85,000 miles for $3,000 spend. The first year annual fee is waived. I will put a link below to the Doctor of Credit site that kind of runs over this deal more in detail. You can also read the comments and sort them by new to see what people are saying. Currently, this is supposed to expire May the 20th. The next honorable mention is from American Airlines. It's the Citi AA Platinum Select, also an in-flight offer. The thing about this here is you get 80,000 miles for only $1,000 spend. So that's a very low spend requirement to get 80,000 miles. This, of course, makes sense if you fly out of an AA hub. The first year is waived, and again, I'll put the link down below. You may need a code when you do this. You can enter all zeros from what I've heard in the past, and it should work. And again, 48th month rule does apply for Citi AA cards. And last but not least, there is the Bank of America Atmos Summit. It can be up to 100,000 Atmos miles. You may have to call a number or give a code. Again, I'll have the info below for you to do your own research to do that. This is about 20,000 miles more than the standard offer. However, there is a steep annual fee because this is the more premium Atmos/Alaska card. So it's only going to make sense for people who are frequent flyers of that airline carrier. Oh, and like any Bank of America card, so you do have to keep in mind the 2, 3, 4 rule from Bank of America. Alrighty, so there are your Feb 5 plus some honorable mentions. A lot of these expire as early as February. Some will go out till April or May. Some just have the limited time offer thing, so we're not quite sure exactly when they're going to end. And if you're interested in any of them, I would recommend grabbing it sooner than later. Just a reminder, there is a guide for you to get as a reference point in case you don't remember everything in the video. I don't blame you. I've had to look at my notes to remember everything. And if by the end of the guide you go through and say, hey, look, I'm still not quite sure, maybe my situation is a little different and unique. Of course, I do have to slide in there that I do have paid consults where you can talk to me. We can go over your exact card strategy and situation to see what would be ideal for you, coming from someone who's been collecting millions of points for the last 8 years. All right, let me know if you're getting any of these cards. I personally may end up getting the Marriott Boundless because A, I think it's a really good offer, but B, it is my first step towards getting a Ritz-Carlton card in the long term. I appreciate you watching. Hit the like button and subscribe if you got value out of this, and I will see you next time.